Well, it looks like all of the Maga influencers got their marching orders last night because after the White House Correspondents Dinner shooting, every single one of them at the same time came out and started talking about how this means we need to build the ballroom at the White House. It needs to happen. Look at this. You even have members of Congress getting involved in it, all at the same time, the same message. Donald Trump even went on social media today. The first message he put out today, the first message about the shooting today, was him talking about the need to build the ballroom. It is so weird how the online reaction from the right to this shooting is, oh, well, we need to build the ballroom. That's what this means. It doesn't mean, oh, maybe there needs to be more gun control or more regulation or a conversation about security. No. They have to build the ballroom. You can let me know in the comments what you think about this and the reaction online from the MAGA Republicans. I just think it's so weird. So weird.
Tuxedoed agents pulled out guns and began running towards the ballroom. White-jacketed caterers screamed and bolted for stairwells. Pandemonium reigned as top cabinet officials were evacuated. Robert Kennedy Jr. and his wife, Cheryl Hines, came out and were ushered into an elevator. Then Janine Perot emerged. The FBI director, Kash Patel, came tearing across the hallway with two men in tow. His girlfriend was hiding in a room with another man who was holding her hand. Oh! Kash Patel is both fired and cooked at the same night, bro. Ooh, sure!
Charlie Kirk presidency 15 years from now?
No. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying myself, but this is going to get really nasty. Everyone listen to this. I just hope you understand. They're going to be coming after us. They're going to be following us in the middle of the night. They're going to be breaking into our houses. You think I'm joking? They are going to be violent. That you will not be able to walk the streets of the MAGA hat without your physical health be put in jeopardy. And I hope it doesn't get that way. I hope that this clip gets unearthed and everything's like wonderful. I hope that the country comes together and we have a beautiful Unitarian healing moment in September.
MAGA influencer Deborah Lee probably had one of the most insensitive and tone-deaf posts tonight I've ever seen. This is Deborah Lee's caption: "Shooter at the White House Correspondents Dinner. The shooter is dead. Thank you, Secret Service." Posted with this photo. I mean, Deborah, what are we doing? I mean, I don't even have the words to describe the level of vanity, the level of insensitivity about the situation that just unfolded. Taking a selfie like this when something just happened. In fact, I feel embarrassed to even be a fellow creator with you, okay? I mean, what goes through your mind, honestly, when you post something like this? When something horrific has just happened around you, do you go and take a selfie like this? Yeah, I just don't have words. I hope Deborah reflects on this and thinks, hey, that was a really bad decision. Who knows if that'll happen.
I swear these people could not wait to get on TikTok and blame liberals. It's almost like they're excited for the opportunity.
Another lunatic leftist has tried to kill the president.
But amazingly, we're sitting here where the Democrats have made another attempt on the president's life.
After what they just tried to do to President Trump tonight at the Correspondents' Dinner, how long do you think it's going to take Democrats and liberals?
He is essentially just another brainwashed, indoctrinated liberal who's convinced themselves that we are living in the Hunger Games.
3 of those 4 clips were posted within minutes of the incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And that's what some of these influencers do every single time something bad happens. Before facts are in, before motives are known, before the dust even settles, they sprint to blame millions of people that they already hate. A random, unstable person tried to unalive Trump. That is not the same thing as the Democratic Party did this. Just like every violent lunatic on the right doesn't automatically represent every Republican. But if we're going to talk honestly, then let's talk honestly. Donald Trump has spent years pouring gasoline on division. Insults, nicknames, humiliation, constant enemies, constant outrage. He helped build a nonstop us versus them political environment. And when you build your entire brand on anger, resentment, conflict, well, guess who else exists in that same environment? Unstable people. Now, that doesn't excuse violence at all. Let me be clear. Nobody should ever try to do that. But stop pretending that this is some organized plot by the liberals or by the Democrats. Stop trying to blame a party. That's lazy propaganda bullshit. This is about one unhinged individual making a disgusting choice. And it's also about a political culture where rage and cruelty are both normalized. When you spend years turning politics into hatred and chaos, don't act shocked when hatred and chaos keep showing up.
Can we all stop for a second and just admit that one of the most iconic moments of last night's incident during the White House Correspondents' Dinner is this featuring Kash Patel. This is the director of the FBI, who should be one of the most immediately involved people in what happened last night in Washington, D.C., crouching under a table and looking around a little lost, a little scared, while other people, including several women in evening gowns, are standing up to see what's going on. That man, who is supposed to represent the apogee of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the man who's supposed to represent the top level of the top law enforcement agencies in the United States, instead of springing to action and understanding what's going on, decided to crouch down and wait for directives. If this image, a man entrusted with the enforcement of the law in the United States, crouching behind a table and standing next to a woman who's left there fending for herself during a moment of potential and imminent danger, if that image does not describe to a T what the current administration looks like and stand for, then I don't know what does.
By now, I'm sure y'all know that the White House Correspondents' Dinner did not go as planned. Maga was sure to add to the insanity before the situation had even ended. And once they got home, they immediately started with the propaganda to get Trump his precious little ballroom. But one ex-MAGA influencer and ex of Elon Musk revealed how coordinated this thing actually was. The internet is abuzz with conspiracies and chaos, so let's break down what's actually going on. Subscribe to Really American if you haven't already, and let's get into it. This woman here is Deborah Lee, and apparently she was at the Correspondents' Dinner as a MAGA influencer. And she ended up in some hot water because she posted herself doing this little duck face while no one knew what was going on. She tried to delete this, but the internet is forever. She said, "Shooter at White House Correspondents' Dinner, shooter is dead," which is not true. "Thank you, Secret Service," praying emoji. Now, the interesting part about this is that she seems to have changed her tune when it comes to her love of the Secret Service. Now, she's saying that there was some sloppiness, and not the kind that we usually see at this dinner.
Following up my video from yesterday talking about the lack of security at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the manifesto from the shooter has now been released, where he himself was shocked at the lack of security for the event at the hotel itself. He was a guest staying at the hotel, and I saw many hotel guests just walking through the lobby. They didn't have to show any identification, neither did I. Nobody checked my purse, and I was among some high-ranking individuals in the administration, in the news world. I've been to many events where President Trump's in attendance, and the security is normally very, very strict, especially at the White House. And for the president to be speaking at a hotel in Washington, and there not to be the highest level of security, is insane and should be investigated, because President Trump has already had multiple assassination attempts on his life.
You would think that everyone at the dinner would have been upset about, I don't know, rising gun violence maybe? But instead, these losers seem to have gotten their marching orders from on high. Trump immediately started yapping about getting his ballroom before midnight last night, and here is every MAGA moron saying the exact same thing within minutes of each other. This is why we need Trump's ballroom. We need a White House ballroom. Thank God President Trump is building a ballroom. It was all MAGA goons plus John Fetterman, the dino disgrace. This user Merrick said, "I'll remind you that Ashley St. Clair recently..."
How did somebody get a gun into the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Honestly, as somebody who went, there was no security. You just showed your ticket and you were able to completely get in. There was just no pat downs, no metal detectors, nothing going on. So really horrible setup, and I just don't even understand how that was a thing when the United States president was going to speak, who has already had assassination attempts on his life. So really crazy.
Almost everyone else ducked for cover. This guy kept eating his salad, and now many people online are fascinated by his seemingly calm response. Turns out it's Michael Glantz with Creative Artists Agency, who's known as a super agent in the TV news industry. He represents people like CNN's Wolf Blitzer and Christiane Amanpour. He told White House Correspondents Insider he wasn't scared at all and didn't want to miss the show. So why didn't Glantz get on the floor like most everyone else? According to him, he's a hygiene freak who has a bad back. A video of the moment on X now has more than 10 million views. A colleague of his even replied to one of the viral posts, quote, "Cool under pressure, well-nourished, and making us proud." CNN has reached out to Glantz for comment.
I love that they have like two random chicks holding the front door open. We're not even trying anymore. It's not even like, I just mean like they're not even like Secret Service people. It's like the girls who work here are holding the door. Even if it was the guys, it wouldn't even make it better. It's like she's fucking just like they might as well put a doorstop in. Like, they put up a doorstop and a scarecrow. Don't fuck with this guy.
USA! USA! USA!
So that was Trump Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino, who it looks like shares Trump's hand size, according to this frame. And this video was taken during the incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner the other day. And yes, he tried and miserably failed to hype up the crowd by chanting, USA, USA. During an active emergency, he dug as deep as he could and tried to pull out this little magic trick, hoping to recreate, I guess, a Butler, Pennsylvania moment. And clearly and understandably, he failed miserably. Not at a Trump rally, not during a post-emergency press conference, during the actual event, while everybody else in the room is quiet, more than likely trying to listen for directives or at least to understand where the danger is coming from, Scavino started shouting and acting more awkwardly than Kash Patel in the Team USA locker room this winter. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is the caliber of people that the sitting president of the United States surrounds himself with for advice. And of course, when they're not advisors, they're close enough to the administration that they're invited to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, only to then take a kissy face selfie immediately after the incident. This is the hands we're in now. This is the administration that history and voters dealt us. And that's why I'm not surprised that child poverty rate in the United States has tripled in the last 3 years, while we're spending $1 billion a day to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed.
Check in on Trump administration officials at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night as shots rang out. This was Stephen Miller and his pregnant wife. Here's FBI Director Kash Patel sitting there doing nothing. And then afterwards acknowledging he has no clue what's going on.
You guys have any idea what happened in there?
I know. I'm sorry. And here's J.D. Vance. And then RFK Jr. with his wife here trailing behind. And of course, you see Erica Kirk.
I just want to go find Suzanne.
Damn, you're okay.
It started getting noisy. Tables getting flipped over, guys running in with guns, and they were screaming, "Get down!" I didn't get down. It was fucking awesome. I literally took every minute of it in, and it was a pretty crazy, unique experience.
A Fox News reporter is going viral for calling into Fox News, and she started saying that Carolyn Leavitt's husband was warning her about something happening before things happened, allegedly, and then Fox canceled and dropped the call. You gotta listen to this. This is just too weird. Listen to this.
Tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary's husband.
Her husband.
He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me, and
Gotta get weird.
Right as the show was starting, the national anthem happened, and then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV, you do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me.
Be safe.
And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
Drop the call. Cuts off.
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone.
Oh, wow.
And
And this happened after Caroline gave an interview and said that tonight with Trump, blanks are going to be fired.
We have some news right now. We're getting more information about Kash Patel during last night's White House Correspondents shooting, along with the reaction about how the right is now actively blaming the left and demanding the building of a ballroom almost in unison less than 24 hours after. It's a pretty stunning description from the New York Times. RFK Jr. and his wife came out and were ushered into the elevator. Then Janine Pirro emerged. The FBI director, Kash Patel, came tearing across the hallway with two men in tow. His girlfriend was hiding in her room with another man who was holding her hand. Meanwhile, this morning, this is the reaction from those on the right, almost in unison. Every single major MAGA influencer is calling for the building of the presidential ballroom this morning, all while some in the Trump administration are actively blaming the press and the left. Carrie Lake says she walked next to Jake Tapper, CNN reporter, looked him in the eyes, said, "How dare you? You've caused so much division in this country with your lies," saying that the press shares some of the blame for what happened. I've also received a lot of questions about the security situation at the hotel and what I said last night. It is fully accurate that you didn't have to go through a metal detector until you went into the actual ballroom. But you could enter the hotel lobby without going through a metal detector. You could enter various rooms in the hotel without a metal detector. You just couldn't go into the ballroom itself without going through a metal detector. But entering the hotel, very little, if any, security. Weren't checking names, weren't going through a metal detector, none of that. I'll have more updates for you soon. Spread the word, follow for more.
I don't think people understand how bad the last few days have been for MAGA online influencers. Recently, MAGA creator and Elon Musk's baby mama, Ashley St. Clair, dropped a bombshell on Twitter, explaining into great depth how coordinated the MAGA online ecosystem is. She became a Turning Point USA operative when she was just 19 years old. St. Clair goes on to say that most MAGA influencers are corralled in group chats and unleashed on Twitter with positions, campaigns, and propaganda that they are hired for like any other content creator campaign. Most of these campaigns are paid by consulting firms that don't have to disclose these expenses to the FEC because they aren't considered a goods sold transaction. She goes on to say that 99% of MAGA influencers online that you see are paid or receiving some form of compensation for their actions. These paid statements could be for a war, to prop up a politician, or even a scripted response to stuff like, let's say, the files. These are marching orders. There is zero free thinking here. Another MAGA grifter named Dom Lucre was just demonetized for 90 days on Twitter for posting AI-generated war footage and is having a full crash out online. This dude has been a sellout. The moment he stopped getting paid, he completely turned on the right, saying he's been critiqued more by conservatives than liberals. Is this the same Dom Lucre that posted an AI picture of Black Trump calling him his N-word on MLK Day? And then Dom starts crying about how his dad is old. A dad, he said, that passed away 2 years ago. And he has a family. And that he can't watch his girl starve. Aww. I'm sorry, Dom, but you've been spreading fake news and getting paid for it. I'm sorry that you are finding out that MAGA elites only view you as a tool, not an equal. Lastly, MAGA influencer Gunther Eagleman has a DM thread that was leaked which shows that he was selling influence online for $300 reposts to the highest bidder. Gunther has been anti-war and America first, but he also somehow supports the war in Iran. He does what daddy tells him to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Eagleman and Lucre were both in the same group chat that St. Clair was talking about. And I'm sure that they both have been in coordinated campaigns together. Because all of these MAGA guys, they reply to each other and boost each other's content. Eagleman has been getting railed on Twitter since the leaked thread was exposed. He honestly deserves it because he has no spine, no integrity, and has parroted everything this administration has told him to in lockstep for almost 10 years. Our democracy and the truth have been under fire since COVID, the 2020 election, January 6th, and every fake immigrant headline you've seen. These people are the lowest of the low. They were pushing the slop for pay, and I'm so happy to see it unraveling, all due to capitalism. That's why.
This man got in front of a camera after having another attempt on his life, looked into the camera to the entire world and said that tonight's events is a reason why we need to have a ballroom. Why? Why do we have to live in this fucking timeline?
When the federal judge put a block on Trump building his ballroom,
like many other...
He's right. And I've seen this, or a variation of this, posted all over Facebook today. Now they really need a ballroom. They really, really need the ballroom. Not to mention that the White House Correspondents Dinner has been happening at the same place for I don't know how long. But for some reason they only had one security checkpoint at this one. And now they need a ballroom. Like, how many of these fake events need to happen before MAGA realizes that this shit is just them being played over and over again? Just a reminder, cartilage doesn't grow back, ear doesn't magically heal after you've been shot in it. And the guy was a Groyper. Like,
Ashley St. Clair used to be a MAGA influencer. She turned over a new leaf. She now speaks out against the right regularly. She's on this platform. She made a video recently, I'll tag it, where she literally says all these accounts you see on social media coming out and spouting the same talking points, they have group chats where certain political figures, DJT specifically, give them talking points. Remember yesterday when I came up here and told you how randomly these accounts were talking about the ballroom? Yeah, that's what happened. Is anybody shocked about this? I'm tired, y'all. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of being gaslit. I'm sick and tired of these rich, straight, white, able-bodied men controlling our society because they have too much money. Of these fake bot accounts pretending to be people and these paid hired actors coming up here acting like they're speaking for the right when they're just people trying to make money. We all know it. We all see it. I can't be the only one that's just tired. I want to be done with this. We all know who they are. We all know what they're all about. Can we just be done with them? Please, I'm begging you. Get out and vote for Democrats in November. I understand that they're not perfect, but damn it, it's better than what this is. Let's get them in office. Let's get rational people in office and then move further left from there. Because this is ridiculous. Aren't y'all sick of this? Because I am. But yeah, if you're questioning if what happened yesterday was real or staged, that answered your question. Give me your thoughts down below. You're not crazy.
Major MAGA influencers are actually foreign actors, and X just exposed it all. Thanks to a new feature allowing people to see where an account is based, hundreds if not thousands of popular MAGA influencers were found to be posting from places like Russia and Nigeria. The accounts aren't small either. One called MAGA Nation has almost 400,000 followers and is based in Eastern Europe. An Ivanka Trump fan account with more than 1 million followers is based in Nigeria. Popular accounts pretending to be Trump-supporting MAGA patriots are based in West Asia, Bangladesh, Morocco, and Russia. Nothing says America first like tweeting from abroad. And guess what? No major Democratic accounts were exposed to be run outside the US. The left has been ringing the alarm for years that MAGA itself is a foreign influence operation designed to destabilize, divide, and destroy the United States. Remember leading up to the 2024 election, it was found that Russia paid right-wing influencers like Tim Pool $400,000 a month to push specific talking points that sow division and favor Russia, and DOJ findings confirm Russian and other foreign attempts to sow division in 2016 using influence operations in favor of MAGA. Well, now we have even more proof of foreign influence. It's clear people are being manipulated into hating their neighbors instead of coming together to take on the corporations and wealthy actually exploiting us.
Holy corrupt bag of shit. The Washington Post just broke an exclusive report today on Donald Trump's ballroom project, and it's even worse than we thought. How is that possible? Don't get distracted. Thanks to a federal judge who forced the White House to release the contract, we now know more than we've ever known about how these donations were handled. And what I've found is that this contract has revisions that are completely unprecedented. First, as a result, any donation of any size is granted anonymity immediately upon request. And investigations of conflict of interest are only conducted for donations over $25,000. And per the contract itself, it's only a conflict of interest if the donor has direct business with the National Park Service or the Department of the Interior. Now here's what this means. Because the Trump administration already released the names of 37 donors. This includes tech companies like Amazon and Meta, defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Palantir, and other donors from crypto, tobacco, energy, and real estate. Now, a separate investigation from Public Citizen found that just 16 of these companies received $279 billion in federal contracts over the last 5 years, and $43 billion in just the last year. But unless those donors have specific business business with the National Park Service or the Department of the Interior, it's not considered a conflict of interest. In other words, a defense contractor waiting for a new federal contract could theoretically donate $10 million to the Ballroom Project, then receive a new contract with the Department of Defense, and that would not be considered a conflict of interest by this White House because the contract isn't with the Parks or the Interior. Even worse, while we do know some of the donors, we don't know how much they donated. All we know is that based on what they've admitted to or bragged about publicly, we can only account for about $80 million in donations, meaning there's still at least $250 million in undisclosed donations from an unknown number of anonymous donors, any of whom could be seeking federal contracts or waiting for merger approvals. On top of that, the contract specifically says that the White House decides what information is disclosed, even when a conflict of interest is found. So unless Trump says it's okay, or unless a new Congress opens an investigation and forces the courts to force the White House to disclose, we will never know. Now, if you're a sane person and you're saying this should be illegal, you're probably right, because 100 years ago during the last Gilded Age, President Harding appointed his buddy Albert Fall as Secretary of the Interior, and Fall proceeded to give exclusive drilling rights in California and Wyoming to two of his buddies who ran oil companies, in exchange for almost $400,000 in bonds and cash paid directly to Fall, which were delivered 1 month after the leases were signed. And only because the governor of Wyoming saw the oil trucks with drilling equipment with his own eyes was a call placed to the senator of Wyoming, which resulted in an investigation that led to the whole thing coming unraveled. And now to this day, Albert Fall remains the only member of a presidential cabinet who ever served time because of crimes he committed while serving in government. Meanwhile, President Harding and the oil tycoons got off without a charge. That was the Teapot Dome scandal, which you probably learned about when you were a kid. Which leads me to wonder, when will this teapot boil over? And when it does, will Trump have a fall guy?